what do you have to say about a Christian or a religious person that's in your face, and then they say, okay, fine, then if you don't want to believe these things, what about Pascal's wager? Where does Pascal's wager weigh in terms of a critical thinking person when they're presented with that by a dogmatic point of view?
I've heard of Pascal's wager, but you'll have to familiarize me with it again.
Blaise Pascal was a French philosopher, I believe. For sure, I know he's a French person. I believe he's a mathematician, as a matter of fact. I knew I was going to have to correct myself. And he said that either God is or he is not. But if I live my life a life of virtue and believe and choose to believe that there is a God, when I die, I stand to gain everything. And if I don't believe in God, then I stand to lose a lot. That's essentially the crux of Pascal's wager.
Gotcha. Yes, and I have definitely been, I've heard this argument used before many times. So basically what the Christian is saying, that they're not going to lose anything because there's no hell. If I'm right, there's no hell, there's no heaven. The Christian's going to live their life and die and have the same result that I'm going to get. But if they're right and there really is a hell, then the Christian will go to heaven and I'll go to hell. So it's win-win for the Christian and lose for me. So when the Christian expresses that kind of a mentality, what they're saying is, underlying what they're saying is this: I don't care about truth, I just care about taking the safe option. That's the bottom line of that. They basically put comfort over truth. For me, I believe in actually, trying my best to figure out what's actually true and then having the courage to live by it. Even when there's those threats of hell, It's the other side of it, it's the path of the coward. That's the only way I can see it. Someone who chooses just in case, I'm going to believe just in case it's right, just to make sure I don't go to hell, just in case it's true. Yeah. That's pathetic, So it really reveals a lot about a person and how they think when they use that sort of an argument. And it is difficult, it's difficult whenever you actually you reject religion and you're dealing with the fact, oh no, what if I'm wrong and these thoughts are plaguing you? And you realize that the only way to get rid of that is if you just learn as much as you can, to make sure you're not making the biggest mistake of your life.
Yeah. And
then after a while, you start to realize just how horrible you were being played by these people and by this religion. That, the use of fear to convince somebody of something is kind of like, that's what you do when you can't convince them using reason. And that's what I tend to say to a Christian. Look, if you want me to be a Christian, convince me. You don't have to scare me.
Yeah.
But they tend to rely on the scare tactics. And it's not always done very overtly. Some of them might say turn or burn. Or some of them might say it very pleasantly, like saying there are eternal consequences to the choice you're making. But either way, it's a reliance on fear instead of reason. And I think we've got to expose that for what it is, basically, and have the courage just to pursue what we think is the truth. I mean, I do not want to be one of these people who is like maybe sitting at 70 years old and I'm on my deathbed and I'm wondering, did I make the right decision? And, Christians sometimes boast about these deathbed conversions. But that's nothing to boast about, because that's basically saying the only thing you could do was scare somebody shitless when they were dying. That's pathetic, rather than being able to convince a person to live for something when they were alive. And that's really all it would take. If somebody could actually convince me that Christianity was true, I would be first in line. No matter what has gone before, I would be first in line, dedicate my life to it. But I am strongly convinced that it's not true. And that's just the bottom line of it. Rationally convinced that it's a lie.